Okay, Alexander, let's talk once again about Russiagate. And once again, we go to our friend Sarah Carter, who has another revelation, basing it once again on the Horowitz footnotes that we reported on about last week, I believe it was, on the Horowitz footnotes and what they revealed. And we have some more revelations. And the title of Sarah Carter's latest article says, Declassified Horowitz footnotes show Obama officials knew Steele Dossier was Russian disinformation designed to target Trump. They knew Obama officials knew Steele Dossier was Russian disinformation. Of course, we disagree with the Russian disinformation part. Maybe there were Russians who were getting money from Steele, making an easy buck on Steele's work that he was charged to do via Fusion GPS, i.e. via Hillary Clinton. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that these were actually agents in Ukraine, and we've detailed that as well. You may want to go into that. But going into Sarah Carter's article, towards the end of that article, I think the best paragraph reads with the heading, Russia appeared to have preferred Hillary Clinton. We've actually said this many times in many videos we've done, that the Russians probably did prefer Hillary Clinton because it's very much a case of the devil you know, and they knew exactly what Hillary Clinton was all about, and they knew exactly what Hillary Clinton would have done if she was president. They had the whole game plan of Hillary Clinton's laid out before she even would have taken office. They knew her from front to back to center, you name it. They had her figured out. Trump was very much an enigma of sorts. They had no idea what he was going to be and how he was going to act. So, Alexander, that's once again Sarah Carter doing a great job of reporting.
Absolutely. Can I just deal with the Russian side? I mean, I don't think it was a Russian disinformation exercise, as you rightly say. I think that's a bit of a red herring. But on the subject of whom did the Russians prefer for president in 2016, I think they did actually assume that it was going to be Hillary Clinton. And I don't think they gave Donald Trump any thought at all. And I think they were stunned when it was Donald Trump and actually rather worried. Now, I actually have, for once, direct knowledge of this because I was in Russia in June 2016. This is at the time, in the run-up to the US presidential election in November. And I was at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, which is where all the elite, the Russian elite comes together and they meet up. And there were all sorts of important people there, including, of course, Mr. Putin himself. And everybody that I spoke to took it for granted that Hillary Clinton would win the election. And everybody was expecting that, once she won the election, they'd be able to get down and work with her because they'd worked with her in the past. And I was at the plenary meeting and I heard Mr. Putin himself speak, and he gave a most interesting discussion of his relationship with Hillary Clinton. And he said, that he got on perfectly well with her in the past, that it was completely not the case that he didn't like her or that he hated her or any of those things, and that he was actually remembered very well having worked very successfully with her husband, Bill Clinton, and that he expected that Bill Clinton would act as a restraining force on Hillary Clinton. So far from being scared of Hillary Clinton, I think the Russians had, as you absolutely rightly said, I think they had her completely figured out. And for all I know, and I wouldn't be surprised about this at all, they do have compromat, to use the Russian expression, information about her, which would have given them leverage. The Russians are very skilled on compromat, and God knows, Hillary Clinton has it all over the place. As
we've got compromat on Hillary Clinton.
Well, exactly. So the Russians must have archives of information about this. So, whereas with Donald Trump, they would have had nothing at all. They really don't. So, and they would have had no leverage over him. And there was one moment which I so well remember at Spieth, where there's a Fareed Zakaria, the American anchor, was there, and he had this exchange with Putin when very rarely I saw Putin become extremely angry. You can always tell when Putin is angry because he sort of tries to joke around it, but in fact he was very angry. And he was asked, why did you call Donald Trump a brilliant person? And Putin said, why are you mistranslating and distorting what I said? I never said he was brilliant. I never said he was extraordinary. I never said any of those things. All I ever said was that he was vivid. So he was very angry when that was put to him in that way. And it was quite clear that as far as Putin was concerned, Trump was a completely unknown quantity, whereas Hillary Clinton was a known quantity that he could work with. So, that was my experience. That was what I came away with from that meeting. I left it saying to myself, Russians are not scared of Hillary Clinton. They know they can work with her. They're almost looking forward to doing it. And Putin himself has a good relationship with her husband, Bill. And whereas Trump is someone they don't know anything about. That was my impression. I don't think that the Russians would have preferred Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump and therefore engaged in a disinformation campaign via the Steele Dossier to damage Donald Trump in order to help Hillary Clinton. I don't think anybody in the Kremlin would have been thinking in that way. Quite apart from anything else, they assumed that Hillary Clinton was going to win. So why would they bother? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think Sarah Carter and some of these American senators have got that one wrong. But certainly they weren't scared of Hillary Clinton. The key point to take, though, from Sarah Carter's article is that the Obama administration, officials in the Obama administration, knew that the Steele dossier was disinformation. Doesn't matter at this point who was providing that disinformation. I'm pretty sure that the disinformation campaign was the work of the DNC. That's what I think. But they knew it was disinformation. And what did they do? They didn't squelch it. They didn't come along and say, this is a disinformation campaign and make that public. They did the opposite. They fanned it. They fanned that story. They gave everybody the impression that there was a possible potential collusion between the Russians and Donald Trump and the Donald Trump campaign. They allowed this terrible dossier to circulate. They got the US intelligence community in October 2016, just weeks before the election, to publish a statement saying that the Russians were trying to help Donald Trump, when the Obama administration, officials in the Obama administration, knew that wasn't true. And that is the real scandal. It is the people in the Obama administration, the officials who knew this was disinformation. It's they we need to focus on. And when we talk about officials, who were these officials? And was it the most important official of all? The President of the United States, Barack Obama himself.
Well, we definitely know from Sarah Carter's article that it was the Crossfire hurricane team. And we know who those guys are.
Absolutely.
Those guys and those gals in the Crossfire hurricane team. And of course, leading that team, you have James Comey and you have Brennan. So, yeah, you're one step away from the president there.
Well, exactly. But again, this comes back to obviously the Crossfire hurricane team, the investigators, the people who were carrying out all this illegal surveillance. I call it illegal surveillance. They got FISA warrants, so they'll say it wasn't illegal, but I call it illegal because those FISA warrants were completely corrupted, and that's not even disputed anymore. So the illegal surveillance of the Trump campaign, they knew that they were working with disinformation, and yet nonetheless they went ahead and they carried out that illegal.
That's the key point.
That's the key point. That's the key point. But Crossfire Hurricane team, obviously there's Peter Strzok, there's Andrew McCabe, there's James Comey, Lisa Page, all those. But they answer to the Justice Department. Justice Department, who's in the Justice Department at that time? Sally Yates, Loretta Lynch. Loretta Lynch is meeting with Bill Clinton. What does he know? And Loretta Lynch, who is she answerable to? She is the Attorney General of the United States. She's answerable to the President of the United States. The President of the United States is the person who receives all the intelligence material. He is the person who's getting letters from Brennan. Brennan is sending him sealed envelopes with all this information. He gets information from the Justice Department as well. He is the person ultimately who is in charge. You're going to tell me he doesn't know anything? He doesn't know? The lower-ranking officials in his own administration know that there is a disinformation campaign going on, and he doesn't know about it? I don't believe that.
I wonder how much Christopher Steele knew as far as how involved the DNC was in all of this. In other words, you said something in the beginning of the video that you think that the disinformation was on the part of the DNC.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, so Steele's being paid by Fusion GPS, which is being paid by the DNC. I wonder if Steele knew that. I wonder if Steele knew that Glenn Simpson was being paid by the DNC, or if he just knew, hey, I've got this Glenn Simpson guy and he's giving me money. So no, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to hand it out to either Ukraine Secret Service, or I'm going to hand it out to my, buddies in the Russian Secret Service, whoever I know that used to work there or that I had some sort of contact with. And I'm going to spread this money around and compile this dossier of juicy gossip and send it back over to Glenn Simpson. He'll cut me the rest of my check, whatever the balance is, and I'm done. Job well done, nice payday for everyone. Or if he knew that, the DNC was working behind the scenes, preparing the way to get, the attack on Trump moving with the Crossfire Hurricane team, with Comey, with Loretta Lynch, the meeting at the tarmac in Arizona, all these things.
Right. First of all, I mean, I don't know what Christopher Steele knew or didn't know. I mean, I've never been able to form an opinion of his personality because obviously he keeps himself very much in the background. But I'm going to make a few observations. Firstly,
which shouldn't be, but just before you go on, which shouldn't be, we should hear from Christopher. We should have heard from him a long
time ago. Absolutely. And it's very disturbing that he hasn't. I mean, it's very disturbing, for example, that he's never given evidence to Congress, public evidence to Congress. I mean, that would be one way of finding out, getting a sense of his personality, which we never have done. I mean, was he a deluded individual who has got lost in a world of, espionage and thinks that he's discovered, stumbled on something important and has been fed all sorts of absurd information which he believes, or is himself a provocateur? I don't know. But I'm going to make one point about Steele. Firstly, I have no doubt at all that he knew who was writing the checks. I have no doubt that he knew that he was ultimately working for the DNC and for Hillary, and that in a sense Hillary Clinton was his ultimate client. I don't believe he didn't know that. But the other thing I'm going to say about Steele is that he was incredibly active in promoting his misinformation, which it was, to the media throughout the 2016 election season. I mean, he and Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS were knocking on all the doors of all the media companies, New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, telling them all about this Steele Dossier that he was putting together and promoting it. and telling them that Donald Trump is compromised, that he's a Russian asset, that he's doing all of these things. So, objectively, he was a deeply political person. He was acting as a political operative. Now, he might have done that because he really did believe, all this information about Donald Trump being a Russian asset. He might have been, if you like, a useful idiot. He might have believed it. But, at the same time, he would have known that Hillary Clinton was paying his checks. I'm absolutely sure of that. And he might have been a conscious political operative also. We need to find out these questions. Hillary Clinton and her connection to Christopher Steele ultimately is an important one. Was Christopher Steele, a hack, or was he a fool? I don't know which of the two it is, but we need the answers to this.
Yeah, something changed from the time that Steele finished his dossier and was marketing it to the time that the dossier really took up speed, because all the mainstream media companies, they really turned it down. They read it and they thought it was an absolute joke as well, until BuzzFeed decided to actually pick it up. So BuzzFeed was contacted by someone, most likely it's DNC, and they were told, run with it. We also know that John McCain was also feeding this to the FBI and to Brennan. So there was something there that triggered the publication of the dossier. That's number one. And number two, wrap up the video, Alexander, because I know you also have some interesting insight to the possible indictments that may be coming down the path, courtesy of Barr and Durham as well. And that also some information that Joe DeGenova has kind of hinted at. So get into that as well.
Absolutely. But can I first of all deal with Steele and the publication of the dossier? Because actually, I think I can answer that question. I don't think that dossier was intended for publication. And I'll tell you why. I think that the concern always was that if it was published, it would become immediately obvious that it was absolute nonsense, and it would be counterproductive to publish it during the election campaign itself. It was much more effective used to poison people's minds behind the scenes. So they were going around, Simpson and Steele, and they were showing it to all sorts of people and passing it round, and it was poisoning minds against Donald Trump, and was being recycled in the media. And it was being recycled in a way in the media that was, you get one story in one media outlet and another story in another media outlet, and they all seem to be corroborating each other without people, of course, realizing that it was all from the same source, which was Christopher Steele himself, because he was talking to lots of people. The other reason I think that they didn't want to publicize it during the election and during the transition period was that if it had been published, that might have affected the FBI's ability to use it in FISA warrants. So I don't think they really wanted it published. The reason it was published when it was because Comey and Brennan had this extraordinary meeting with, as he then was, President-elect Trump. Comey showed Donald Trump this dossier, which Donald Trump, we know, saw this as an attempt to blackmail him. Donald Trump refused to be blackmailed and showed Comey the door. And as night followed day, shortly after, just days after, the dossier was published by BuzzFeed, I think the green light for publication of the dossier came from the intelligence services, from the FBI specifically, quite possibly, I don't know this for a fact, but quite possibly from James Comey himself. That's what I think. I mean, we will no doubt find out the whole truth of that. But as I said, I don't think it was in their interests to publish it before. I think it served their interests more to keep it secret and, feed all sorts of stories through the media that ultimately originated from it. And I think that they published it at the moment when it best suited them, after Donald Trump had basically called time on James Comey at that meeting, in which Comey tried to blackmail him by trying to use the dossier. So that was what I think happened with that. Now, about the Durham investigation, we're getting lots and lots of news coming out, and it's really all incredibly interesting. The first thing to say is that it seems that Durham is focusing increasingly on Brennan and the CIA, and he's now increasingly looking at the famous intelligence assessment, which is the one that came out in January 2017. Now, what a lot of people don't remember about that intelligence assessment is that it wasn't about collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. It was about the original hacking allegations. So the fact that Durham is apparently looking at all of that strongly suggests to me that he's starting to have doubts about the hacking allegations. Now, that is actually, when you think about it, that's pretty remarkable. That's an extraordinary revelation. So that's already, I think, big news, and we need to be very, very carefully focused on that. Now, the diGenova business was that there was this extraordinary interview, which I would, I think we should link to, in which diGenova was saying, firstly, that Durham has now called a grand jury, and indictments are definitely coming, and that he is increasingly getting witness evidence from people within the CIA, which looks like, again, it's pointing towards Brennan, but it seems people within the CIA are now talking, which is itself very, very interesting. But that the way that it's pointing is that he's clearly starting to think that there's a conspiracy involved.
Huge news.
It's huge news.
Huge news.
Yeah, it's huge news.
Conspiracy headed by Brennan, and the hacking may have been a complete myth.
And the hacking may have been a complete myth. And then the other thing, which is extraordinary, which diGenova said. Now, I'm not quite sure where he's got this information, but diGenova is an incredibly well-informed person. He said that the current head of the FISA court, who's a judge and a liberal and a Democrat, now wants the names of all the 29 people who were the subject of FISA warrants around the same time that there was the famous FISA warrant against Carter Page. And diGenova threw out this possibility that all those 29 people were Republicans. Now, if they were Republicans, were they members of the Trump campaign? Or were they connected in some way to the Trump campaign? Because in that case, we're not looking at just one FISA warrant. We're looking at massive surveillance of the Republican Party in the run-up to a presidential election, and 29 FISA warrants. I mean, remember, with each warrant,
you're surveilling hundreds.
You're surveilling hundreds of people. So, I mean, what was all that about? The FISA point diGenova makes, by the way, is that in a FISA warrant, the FISA court is not told the name and identity of the person against whom the warrant is sought. So the fact that the head of the FISA court is now asking for those names, is not asking for them, he's demanding those names, is in itself a huge thing It shows that he's completely lost trust in this whole process. But DeGenever seems to think that this person, who, as I say, is a liberal and a Democrat, thinks that they might all have been Republicans. Is he right? Is DeGenever right? I don't know. I'm not party to this information, but DeGenever is a former former prosecutor. I mean, he's a brilliant lawyer. He knows what he's talking about, I think.
I wonder if we'll ever get those names. They'll be made public.
Oh, DeGenever thinks they will be made public, and he also thinks they will sue.
We'll leave it there. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief.
Very interesting times we're living in.
Yeah, very interesting. Boy, if this stuff hits a couple of months before the November election, it's going to be very, very entertaining.
Very entertaining indeed. I mean, it might even drive the corona off the the television. But you know,
the corona will be long gone by then.
Will probably. I agree.
All right. All right, guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below, smash that notifications bell, hit that like button, and also look for us on iTunes and Soundcloud for an audio copy of this video. And please donate to us on PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribe Star as well. Your donation really helps out this channel a whole lot. Check out the Duran shop to pick up some great merchandise, magic mugs, and awesome polo t-shirts. We've got it all. And you will find a link in the description box down below to the Duran shop. And you will also find a link to our friends at Patriotic Legacy, who sell the Patriot Beacon all over the world, international shipping, the best torch in the world, as Alexander says. And as everyone in the UK says, a torch, I call it a flashlight, made in the USA. And they have a special promotion with us, Duran20, for a 20% discount. Just use Duran20 at checkout and you will get that discount. And also they are running a special promotion on the Patriot Beacon 3 in red. It is coming out in a red color. It's going to be a giveaway to all our reviewers. The contest will be comprised of one Patriot Beacon 3 red, which is a $99 value, almost $100 value, one tactical pen at $19.99 value, and one monkey fist ball at $4.95 value. And to be valid for this giveaway, you have to spend over $30 at the Patriot Legacy website. Use the code Duran20, and we will announce the winner here on this channel as well. Great giveaway from our friends at the Patriotic Legacy. Alexander.
It certainly is. And can I just also say that it's within international reach. They send their Patriot Beacons around the world, so it's not just confined to the United States. Can I just say, this is the Patriot Beacon. It is the best torch, flashlight if you prefer. I don't mind, but torch is what we say in British English. My dog agrees. It is a phenomenal torch. It is beautifully made. It is incredibly strong. It is practically indestructible. I'm afraid I'm one of these very sort of careless people. I drop mine when I walk my dogs, as you can hear. He's very excited because he thinks I'm going to walk him. That's why he's barking now, because he thinks I'm going to go out with him in a moment, which I probably am, by the way, with my Patriot Beacon, because I always, when I go out at night, it's night now in London, walking my dogs, I always have my Patriot Beacon with me, because I need it to keep track on them and so that they can know where I am too. But it is indestructible. I once dropped mine. It's so well made, it's so strong that it came back perfect, but I would obviously advise you not to do it, because it's such a great thing that you should prize it and treasure it, because it's the best torch in the world. And you can see what an elegant thing it is. It's got all of these accessories. You can have it in your car. You've got the magnet there, which you can stick it on the card so that you can have it in a convenient place if you get into an accident, which every so often it can happen to any of us, where you can break the windscreen with it. You can also cut yourself out of your seatbelt. You can use it as a hammer. Sometimes one has to have it as a hammer. It's solar powered, so it will never run out if you keep it in the light, as I do, in which case you can also use it to recharge your smartphone or your laptop or your iPad or whatever. It's got a port there. If you get lost, it's got a compass. If you want to call your dog, I'm almost reluctant to do it because he's so excited, you can press and you get an alarm. And it's also, obviously, the most important thing. You can see it's got an amazing light. You can see amazing distances with it. It's quite extraordinary how far you can see, and it's almost like daylight. It's a beautiful, clear light, so that you can keep a careful watch on what you're doing. So I cannot praise this torch too much. It is the best torch in the world, just as Alex said. And this project, this promotion that we're talking about, you should definitely join it, because it is the most amazing torch you will ever have. It's not just, of course, our friends at Patriotic Legacy. We mustn't forget all our wonderful things, our brilliant magic mugs, the best magic mugs, the best mugs in the world. This one with its Earl Grey tea there. I come back to what I've said many times. I'm the world expert on mugs. You will not get a better mug than this one. It's beautiful and strong. And as you can see, I've had mine now for well over a year now. Not a crack or chip or discoloration anywhere. And of course, we also have our amazing shirts, like this amazing polo shirt I'm wearing, 100% cotton, incredibly stylish, incredibly comfortable. And we also have long-sleeved and short-sleeved t-shirts and v-neck shirts, also incredibly comfortable, also 100% cotton. All our shirts are incredibly hard wearing. And we also have hats, hoodies, stickers, and amazing ebooks on Russiagate, Brexit, Epstein, Ukrainegate, and we're getting more coming. So come to our shop, support the Duran, participate with our friends at Patriotic Legacy. You're going to get amazing things. Alex will tell you how.
You will find a link to the Duran shop in the description box down below. You'll also find a link to the Patriotic Legacy and the Patriot Beacon down below as well in the description box. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Till next time, everybody, take care.